Alright everyone, welcome to another episode of Ancient History of Bharat. Alright, we are approaching the last chapter of this book, that is the Vedic age. And like I said, from the ending of the Upanishads and from the beginning of the empires for which we have records, things will start getting interesting because now from this point forwards, the narrative will flow continuously. Okay, up until now, all we had was philosophies from the Rig Veda, then the Samhitas, then the Brahmanas, and then the Upanishads. So, all we have been doing so far in these episodes is discussing different theories and how those theories and philosophies have changed over a period of time. But now that we will move on from Upanishads to the you know kings and all their lineages and how did they establish their kingdoms and whatnot. All right, so yes, but right now we have something else to deal with. All right, and we'll begin again from page number 507 where we left off in the last video. Okay, food for the dead was placed in pits according to an ancient and universal custom. Gifts to water deities were naturally thrown into the waters, and the offerings to Rudra and other demonic figures may be deposited in ant hills or hung on trees or merely thrown in the air. Alright, so you'll see the current day customs, you'll see that many of the people, we have this custom that whenever we have some or the other puja at our home, okay, there will be some leftovers from that ceremony that you just conducted, and all those leftovers will either your mother or somebody elder from your house, they will either deposit it in the nearby temple, or they will deposit it any of the nearby rivers. Okay, and many of the customs as well. This has been the tradition all this while. Okay, if you're not aware of it, you should probably ask your parents. Whenever there is something religious in your house, and you're not supposed to throw that away in the dustbin, you are either supposed to deposit it in the nearby temple, or either deposit it in the river, the closest river. Okay, there are, because river again is supposed to be a god. All the forces of nature to the pagan of Bharat is a god. All right, so yeah. So gift to water deities, even there were water deities. So gifts to those water deities, they were deposited in waters. Okay, because we considered them as living objects. The rivers, they were considered as living objects. They were considered as gods. All right. We have talked about this in the previous video that every householder had to keep one fire in the house to carry on, mostly by himself, the domestic cult. Okay, so this idea of havan, okay, that there has to be a fireplace in between and people will sit around that fireplace and do the offerings. Okay, now that is something that each and every individual person from each household was expected to do. Okay, so every household has had one fire altar, and that was non-negotiable. If you are an Aryan, if you belong to the Aryan race, you are supposed to have a fire altar in your place. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you are rich, if you are affluent, or you belong to a humble or a modest family. You have to have a fire altar in your place, and you are supposed to practice certain sacrifices, and some of them even on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so that's written. Family rights, such every householder had to keep one fire in the house to carry on the domestic cult. The family rites as such must be performed only in the domestic fire, while the Soma sacrifice cannot be performed without the triad of fires. Okay, the Soma sacrifice was one of the superior sacrifices. You could not, it's not like everybody could practice the Soma sacrifice. You needed special preparations, you needed a special class of priests to help you undertake the Soma sacrifice. One very interesting thing that RC Majumdar mentions on page number 507 is, have you ever experienced this? Whenever you are leaving your home for a long period of time, let's say you are going on a trip, okay, for 15 or 20 days, okay, so whenever you are leaving your place, there will be some or the other sense of belonging that will not let you leave that place without, undertaking any formality or whatnot. All right, and that's there. Okay, if you have not experienced it, probably you have been far too ignorant and far trying to be too much woke and modern just to gain acceptance in the West. Okay, but whenever you leave your place, largely majority of the people, they sense this belonging to the house, and pertaining to that belonging, they will have this reluctance to leave their place without actually formally acknowledging or talking to your house as a lively person that no, I'm leaving but I'll be back soon. Okay, and that's pretty much natural, but there is something that the Upanishads mention. Okay, a man going on a journey takes formal leave of the fireplace, or whatever fire that you have in your home that is supposed to perpetually burn. So whenever you leave your home for any given point of time, let's say you are going away for 5 to 10 days, you have to take, or you have to seek formal permission or formal leave from the fire, which is another point of contact with the ceremonial of the domestic domestic fire. It's there. The next few pages are largely details about the, we have discussed this in one of our previous videos, the priests. Okay, some of the priests who, whenever there was a sacrifice that was undertaken, it was not just a singular priest. There were multiple priests. Okay, the Hotri, the Udgatri, the Advaryu, the Purohit, and the Brahman. Okay, so yeah, so the next few pages are detailing how these positions have changed over the period of time, how only one Brahman is required for a sacrifice. He is the only one who is the conscience keeper of that sacrifice. Relation of magic to the ritualistic religion. Magic is not earlier than religion, though they are inextricably blended in Bharat. As has been noted already, the Atharva Veda is the first book that makes use of magic mixed up with theosophy, though it is priestly and not purely popular magic. Okay, so magic in true sense, meaning doing something supernatural, that was not the point. Okay, there was no, it's not the Atharva Veda or all the Vedas in the Upanishads expect you to believe in some heavenly magic. That's not the point. Okay, the use of amulets is recognized as an excellent means of protection. Also, again, I'll bring you back, and a lot of you will relate to it. I'm sure your mothers in your household, okay, they will ask you to wear some red thread across your wrist. Some of the mothers will ask you to wear some of the arm bands. Okay, they will keep it in a temple or get it from across a temple for your protection from evil eye and evil spirits. Okay, that very same thing has been mentioned in the Upanishads 5,000 years ago. The amulets were worn by people. It's not a new thing. Okay, people who lived during the Upanishadic age, they wore certain amulets for their protection. It's written over here. Okay, now they're not appealing to your sense of magic. That's not what they are doing. Okay, although not many characteristic and essential practices of the yoga philosophy are traced in ritual literature, the fivefold divisions of breath or vital airs is known. It would appear from the above discussion that religious thought during the period under review, that is the Upanishads, on the whole present a very consistent picture because of the contradictory legacies it was here to. The polytheism of the Samhitas and narrowed down to the Upanishadic monism. Okay, monism is different from monotheistic. Okay, monism is a view that there is only one kind of ultimate substance. So the Upanishads largely they point towards the unity of all the deities and all the powers, whereas the Samhitas and the literature prior to the Upanishads, they are rather polytheistic in nature. Okay, so you can see that yes, indeed, there was some culmination of the Aryan thought into the Upanishads. What began as a primitive culture, then progressed to the Rigvedic culture, then progressed and passed through the times of the Samhitas and the Brahmanas, and then finally reached the age of Upanishads. Okay, now the Upanishads, like I said, they are culmination and the conclusion of the Aryan thought, and hence it is mentioned over here that since they were a conclusion, they were a theory that was in practice, and due to that practice, it went through centuries and millennia of trial and error, and finally, during the age of Upanishads, it reached its fruition. So yes, Upanishads are largely monistic in nature, as in believing in one ultimate substance and not many ultimate substances. So I'm not calling Upanishads as monotheistic. I'm saying yes, there is an attempt in the Upanishads, and according to RC Majumdar as well. This is not me saying, this is simply just me diluting it a little bit, what RC Majumdar has written on in his book. Next up is ethical virtues such as purity, perseverance, forbearance, and kindness to all were prescribed along with religious rites by the Gautama Dharma Sutra. Self-restraint is the mother of all virtues and is to be ceaselessly cultivated in this life, since the present life is but a preparation for the real happy life after death. So even the Upanishads, they talk about the ultimate quality that a person has to cultivate, not exactly possess. Okay, they use the word cultivate. So one quality that all men have to cultivate according to Upanishads is self-restraint. Okay, there are things that you might desire and you might act upon those desires, and those actions, okay, have to be kept in check by exercising self-restraint. Self-restraint meaning stopping yourself from doing things that you know deep down that they are not in consonance with the cosmic order, that is dharma. Okay, dharma, that is religious merit, artha, acquisition of wealth, kama, enjoyment of present life, are the purusharths, human values, or the aims of men. Okay, so if you are a man and if you are born on this beautiful holy land of Bharat, okay, so there are three values, there are three aims in your life that you're supposed to chase. It's pretty much well defined. Okay, number one is dharma, that you're supposed to focus on dharma. Second one is artha, accumulation of wealth. Third is kama, that is enjoyment of the present life. So these are the three purusharths, meaning the three aims of a purush, that is the man. Dharma bears fruit in future life and is extra empirical in its technical aspect, in the sense that it can be ascertained only from a divine or a traditional code. Okay, so any act that you do, okay, that is in consonance with dharma, that acts or has an effect of furthering the dharma's cause, okay, you definitely will gain fruits out of that act. So that is how we end this chapter of religion and philosophy in the Upanishads, and then we'll move on to the last chapter, that is chapter number 27, social and economic conditions. I've already read the first page of that chapter, but I could not read sufficient enough to make an entire video on it. Alright, so that's it for this episode of the ancient history of Bharat. I'll see you guys in the next video with chapter number 26, social and economic conditions. Thank you for watching.